welcome to the first bonus episode of New Mystery of the Emblem. Now, for the most part, the bonus episodes are going to cover small dialogue changes that don't affect too much, and the support conversations I don't get in the main game, so, mostly characters I'm not using in the main game. And for this, I'm going to be creating a new avatar. Now, you might be wondering, why don't I use a male avatar? Gender does change a few lines, but a vast majority of the changes are just like little bits of dialogue that don't actually affect how the conversation moves. It's just, a bit of flavor. Second off, I can fucking play as myself, insert and my OC. You can't fucking stop me, this is my LP, what are you gonna fucking do about it? Fucking nothing, that's what. Anyway, future me, talk about my new avatar. So I think I accidentally ended up making a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none type character. I mean, 25% strength isn't that high, but for a mage, it's actually not that bad. I'm going to wind up as a much buffer mage than pretty much all the other mages. The rest of the stats, though, are kind of more or less a coin flip. Well, I guess that's what you get for sticking to your ideals. That being said, though, 20% resistance is like one of the highest resistances you're gonna see, so mages aren't gonna fuck with Victoria, that's for sure. So as you can see, I started doing this super early, but I actually have cleared most of the game by the time I've actually reached Chapter 2, so yeah, I did prioritize Iris. Now, the first change is a weird one, but Katarina actually does have different comments for your name. Yeah, so Victoria's dignified, whereas she just said Iris is a nice name. Second off, I figured I should just show off the first battle. Of course, it's more or less the same, except with the Fire Tome, this guy can't even touch you because he doesn't have a javelin. Jagan, of course, does, and that's where you're gonna take most of the damage in this fight, because the first guy shouldn't hit you, and if you let him, you really need to know how mages work, so do remember they can attack from a distance. That's kind of a necessary thing. Also, yeah, I just fucking dodged that. So, yeah, apparently I'm doing even better than the mostly scripted chapter. Though, again, I said mostly scripted because you can probably get yourself killed if you attack the first dude right next to him. Because, of course, the mage is going to start with lower defense. Unless you, took a higher defense mage. So, yeah, don't take the extra hit if you don't need to. Alright, and not the best first level up. Oddly enough, I usually wind up as, like, the buffest sage. So, I get a lot of strength, both in this game and in Awakening. I haven't played as a self-insert mage in Fates yet, though. I promised I wouldn't play that until the Gate Hack came out. Because, quite frankly, I've played the introduction to that game far too many times, and if I see the intro zooming into Xander and the Avatar fighting again, I'm gonna fucking push the table over. Anyway, yeah, I mostly just wanted to show Luke getting his ass kicked there, because why wouldn't I? We're gonna get a concentrated Luke dunking. Hey Luke, go fuck yourself. Hey Luke, I hate you with all my hate. Alright, so, next difference we're going to show off is that, I'm going to be saying no to most of these options, which I think the yes path is the quote-unquote canon path. I mean, it had us fighting George, who gave us Gordon as an ally, had us fighting Drog, who's another ally we start Chapter 1 with, and of course it ended with us fighting Kane, who, I think is the slightly more sensible choice. I think that makes more sense in terms of story to fight Kane, since he's been your instructor for all that time. Anyway, here we're actually going to show off a full chapter. This is the Athena version of this chapter, and while the enemy formation is different, I still do find this version of the chapter so much easier than George's version, because Athena did not immediately crit me. I don't know, maybe I have to play the game more than once for that to happen. But, didn't get crit by her at all. Passed this on my first go. Alright, so, yeah, these guys right here are a little bit tricky just because they're lance users. Of course, we don't have any axes to counter them, but, just use your lance users since they're an equivalent to the, other lance users. And then the lance users should be good against the sword users. It's kind of simple. Of course, if you have more than one long-distance unit, that's also helpful. I, of course, have two, though Ryan wasn't nearly as potent, being, low-leveled and not a mage and all. These guys don't have good resistance at all. Shouldn't be surprising, considering most characters don't, but, Alright, so, provided we heal Seda, this is gonna go pretty well. I decided to let her take the first shot, though. Yeah, she doesn't even have a crit chance, jeez! Why is George so well, okay, he's a sniper. But I mean, Athena's still pretty good, and a Myrmidon, so it's kind of her thing to get crits. Oh well, she can't counter you if you attack from long range like George can, so Ryan actually benefits a lot from this version of the chapter just because George can really wreck him if you aren't careful. And that takes care of that. And Seda gets a level up. Not a bad one. Kinda typical, but, it's a good typical to be fair. You threw fire in my face. What is your name? You're far too strong. Having fire pelted at you. A sign of everlasting friendship. This, of course, is more or less the same, so we're going to skip to this cutscene, which only has one tiny difference, which, of course, is the most important difference, actually. Merrick talks about a different hair color. Yep, that's it. That's the only reason I showed this conversation. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So we're going to be skipping over to this, where I am a gigantic idiot, and I'm like, nope, I didn't see a masked man. I mean, look, he was on the other side of a battlefield. Realistically, I would not be able to see him. So the rest of that is the same. Forgot a transition, remember that, future me. And now we get this conversation, which of course changes depending on what hair your avatar has. I left this full cutscene in because I do appreciate the fact that nobody actually likes Luke. I mean, like, Luke sucks. He's not actually the worst character in this game, but like, you don't have to tolerate any other character for 7 prologues like you do Luke, so he ends up being the one I insult most. Hey Luke, you know what would be a good hairstyle? What if we plucked out each hair piece by piece? I think the pain would make it more attractive. And thank you, Katarina. Hey, I can take being called the Terrible, but goddamn, do not insult my self-insert's hair. Especially when his own hairstyle fucking sucks. Anyway, this version of the chapter has us fighting Ogma. I already mentioned it before, but Ogma I find is still pretty difficult. I kind of have a hard time figuring out which I find harder between Ogma and Strogg. They both provide their own challenges, but of course, the most important thing is they leave, so they're not immediately on the battlefield. And please tell me I skipped this. I guess past me thought I'd be talking more than I actually am, but future me is going to pay the price for this. Anyway, though, this chapter isn't too much different, except there's no mage, which is actually kind of a significant difference. That being said, though, the Archer's still the biggest problem since it means you can't really use Seda if you don't get rid of him, and, well, I didn't. Because I'm not using any of the boys. Oh well, it's not a huge deal. I mean, the Iron Lance using guy kind of is, but not a big enough deal where I'm worried about it, especially since we're done now. Thankfully, Ogma can't actually counterattack, so Victoria's low HP doesn't matter too much, provided he doesn't get a turn. We'll have to make sure he doesn't. So yeah, as I said before, Ogma's got some good skill and speed, some half-decent HP as well. I can't really say anything too bad about that. He soaks up quite a few hits. Makes sense, he's a mercenary, they typically have some good HP, but, you know, still annoying nonetheless. That being said though, Seda's always a good ace in the hole in terms of speed. Cecil's got good damage. And I don't know if I used Athena for this or not, but if I didn't, well, she's also good. She starts at level 10 and I believe has stats to match it. I believe she's a pretty solid character overall. Well, I know she is, but, you know, here at the start, she's pretty good, I think. That's what I'm uncertain about. Alright, so that wasn't so bad. I didn't have to make too much... God damn it, Cecil. I didn't have to make too much use of those iron weapons, and oh, whoops, if you max out your inventory in the prologue, you don't actually have the convoy yet, so you have to discard an item, which, whoops, my mistake. Shouldn't have gotten that kill with Cecil, but it's not a huge deal. I'd much prefer to keep the weapons over the vulnerary, truth be told. Oh no. Oh, it's this cutscene. Oh, jeez. Oh, I don't want to say no to this. I don't want to say no to this. Oh god, why do I have to be a dumbass in this chapter? Oh no. Oh god, it feels like I'm playing Monster Hearts, god damn it. Katarina, no! No! Katarina, I didn't mean it! I just need to fight somebody else in the next prologue! Oh! No wonder she betrays me. Alright, so for some reason or another, Athena's base conversation is actually available in the prologue, provided you use her as much as you can, of course. She's the only character who is available. I don't know the exact point totals you need to get a support, but I think Ryan, provided you used him for every prologue, would get a support within the prologue, except he doesn't. So yeah, Athena must just not have that many points that you have to rack up for supporting with her. Cause, yeah, but god damn it. No, Athena, Athena, this is the C rank conversation. I don't like you like that. You have to wait until at least rank 3, come on. We have a process here. Anyway, the joke is that Athena is foreign, and therefore sometimes she knows words, and other times she doesn't. Trust me, it's a hilarious joke, in case you didn't notice. Alright, so we're going to be facing Est, and this is probably the most significant change to a prologue in the entire, prologue. Rather than starting in the bottom middle, we start at the bottom left, and, that means we have a slightly more of an awkward fortress to take if we want to, you know, start defensive. I guess it's technically easier to defend this position just because, well, no, either way we're kind of attacked from two sides, huh? Est has this conversation as well. She's going to mention how there might be more units coming in. Oh man, we already know how that works. And for some reason this guy went after Victoria, even though she could attack him back. Generally the enemy will go for more damage over whether or not an enemy can actually attack them back, which sometimes is a good idea, and holy shit, it is actually a good thing that that first the archer was kind of an idiot because they probably could have killed Cecil right there if they had all focused on her. But they didn't, so they won't. Alright, so Est is probably easier to aggro just because, again, I'm fairly positive that Cain will not attack Seda, probably because she's the princess. Either that or I've gotten stupidly lucky, but I know I've been within his aggro range before with Seda and he hasn't done anything. Oh, okay, so maybe it's actually a timed thing, because yeah, Est doesn't attack you here. Either way, though, oh, and just in case it wasn't obvious, any new characters I get here in the prologue, I'm not going to cover in terms of bios. I'm going to bring them up in the proper playthrough. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that we're going to be getting characters like Athena or Est eventually in-game. And oh, there she goes. Okay, so yeah, if I had an archer, that'd be super useful. This is kind of awkward, actually. It's going to be a very awkward fight. That being said, though, I can definitely finish this off this round, even if Est is going to soak up quite a bit of damage, being, you know, Pegasus Knight and all. They're kind of known for their resistance. They're very good at not getting murdered by magic. And, that's not a bad level up Rise. Rise is the only exception to the no guys rule, just because I'm not confident enough to not take along a healer. I kinda want a healer for this. So, as I said before, kind of an awkward fight, but I should be able to finish this off. Unless, of course, Athena isn't able to kill that guy, but, spoilers from the future, or I guess the past, technically speaking, I'm gonna succeed. I think that should be obvious. Oh, also, yeah, she has a 100% hit chance on this guy. Did I mention Athena starts at level 10? Because she starts at level 10, meaning she's super good. I'd say she's your Jagan for the prologue, except A, you might not necessarily get her, and B, her stats are good. Alright, and that takes care of that. So yeah, Est's chapter, it's different, but I don't necessarily know if I would say it's harder. Oh, whoops, I forgot that mercenary doesn't charge you automatically, and he's still there. That's a bit of an anticlimactic way to end this fight, but, whatever. Yeah, this'll work. Oh, and I got a crit. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet in this LP, but, the crit animations are only slightly better than Shadow Dragon's. They are actually the exact same, except they have that little flashing effect before you crit, so for the most part they still suck, but mages are still my favorite. I still love how they casually flip through a book and are like, oh hey, here's the page where you fucking die. It has a picture and everything. Well, bye. Anyway, the rest of the scene is the same, other than the Est recruitments. Oh, I guess I did keep in the fact that we passed. As if you needed to know. I think you probably could have guessed that I was going to get the same grade, considering it's only based on death, and, you know, I, didn't die at all. Oh yes, of course, and, unfortunately 100% hats means we also have to show hat rejection as well. Though that being said, one thing I didn't show off, and I've never actually seen myself, is I don't know what happens if you ever permanently keep a hat. I've never tried it. We're going to reject it here. Oh well. Clearly my self-insert is not as much a hat fan, which I guess does kind of match up with real life. I'm not one for hats. Alright, and the last difference, of course, is everybody's goodbyes. Because we have different characters for the prologue, we have different people to talk. Est is going to talk about Abel, who she married between Echoes in this game. Not the best pairing, but whatever. Ogma, of course, is going to mention a mission which we'll see in Chapter 1, or probably have by now. I'm pretty sure Chapter 1's going to be up before this, possibly even Chapter 2, I don't know. Could be lazy about it, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. Here's Merrick. Actually, I'm pretty sure the rest are the same, right? Oh, Athena, duh. Alright, well, I wonder if that's a bit of foreshadowing as well. We get a lot more foreshadowing if we're a gigantic dumbass, don't we? I don't know how to feel about that. In one version, we got all the characters we're going to get for Chapter 1, and also Cain as well. Here we get a whole lot of foreshadowing. Weird. Anyway, yeah, the rest of this is the same, so that was the first bonus part of New Mystery of the Emblem. We'll be seeing Victoria again once we reach the next, I guess we'll say, major plot points of the game.